Hello, welcome to A Very Explosion Network Christmas, our podcast dedicated to the merriest of holidays, the festive season with films about Santa, snow, or being left home alone, time of year when we all come together to argue if Mean Girls is a Christmas movie. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley, and helping me grow my heart three sides of this Christmas cheer is Dylan Blight.
I'm saying no. I know it's set at Christmas for a brief part there. There's a whole Christmas song and like a very famous image from that movie is like at Christmas, but I don't think of it as a Christmas movie at all. So I'm saying no.
All right. On this episode, we're talking about the 5th episode of The Santa Clauses, Chapter 5, Across the Yule-Verse, directed by Katie Locke O'Brien, written by Ari Berkowitz and Alison Bennett. Scott learns the truth about how he came to be Santa. Dylan, what did you think of the 5th chapter of The Santa Clauses?
I really liked it. I thought like the whole like retconning, if you want to call it that, or whatever explanation of you know, if this was Star Wars, it would be like, they've retconned everything, they've ruined the lore of the Santa Claus lore. But I liked it. It was just like there's no real reason to explain why any of this stuff is. But I mean, it's funny how we bring up a lot of these things in the rewatch of the films and throughout this whole show. They've pretty much like answered nearly all of our questions or whatever. It's like, how did this motherfucker fall off a roof? What dumbass! Like, you know, like, all the things that we said watching these movies in the lead up to this. So yeah, I liked it. I mean, the whole it's just they do. This is just a very short version of Scrooged, or you know, like the same sort of thing. He just gets visited and taken around to some Santa Clauses, and it's like a 20-minute episode, and then they're like, "Hey, yeah, got to go save the day," sort of thing. It's like totally fine. But yeah, it's fun. You get Bernard back. That's cool. So that turned out to be who it was. Obviously, with the hand. Where he was like, "Well, how's he freezing time?" It's like, "Well, it's a simple explanation. He just has a thing." Where do you get
He just has
don't know, but he has a thing. He has a thing. Like it's fine. We don't need to know, but yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. It was fun.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like an unnecessary direction to go. You know?
Oh yeah, it's totally unnecessary. But I don't care.
I mean, it's a choice, you know?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to go back and watch the movies again now, knowing the context of what they discussed.
He was the chosen one.
He was the chosen one? Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, and then, you know, Simon's obviously still at the North Pole, like, going even more of a douchebag. And yeah, that's all happening at the same time. And then, of course, Simon kind of runs back to the North Pole by himself and immediately gets captured. But yeah, obviously, the big crux of the episode is Scott getting revealed that, you know, he was specifically chosen to be Santa Claus. That he is the first human to ever be made Santa Claus.
There was no other Mrs. Claus.
There was no, well, we don't know that. But there was no human Mrs. Claus.
There's no Mrs. Claus.
Well, the whole thing is the clauses were invented to, like...
Test him. So really, they didn't need to do the Mrs. Claus. No.
They could have been like, been a little bit more, you know, give a little bit more time leeway. You know what I mean? Okay. Really, the Mrs. Claus is like a arranged marriage kind of situation, you know?
Literally, yeah.
It's like, we needed you to have children because we wanted to see what would happen if you had children on the
pole. We wanted to see if your kids would be magic or not. A little bit of an experiment.
We're just kind of been experimenting on you this entire time. The one question that I get raised when they bring up this whole idea is, why isn't there just one Santa Claus? If these are ethereal beings who we assume are immortal, why are there multiple Santa Clauses?
Well, they still have their own personalities and traits. They can still get bored, I guess. You know, they're like, I've been doing it for 500 years.
But nobody's seen a Santa Claus retire before. And yet, it seemed like they must have already... What do the elves think of this whole situation, you know? Because previous to this, there wasn't like somebody falls down and... Unless Bernard was... Well, I guess Bernard was in on it the entire time, and he was the lead elf in the first film. So
that was the thing. He told everyone to shut the fuck up.
He's like, listen, we're never going to talk about them being human. We're not going to tell them how the old ones used to be. Yeah, I love the whole doors going through doors, that's always a fun trope,
Shout out to Krampus.
Shout out to Krampus doing new things with them horns.
Mm.
Not doing anything bloody, it looked like. This is if Krampus that just steals toys.
He steals back the toys, yeah.
He steals back the toys. But, nice to see Krampus being included.
Yeah, I like the inclusion of Krampus. Yeah.
Yep. But why Scott? Oh, yeah. Why Scott?
Because he has it in his heart.
He saw Santa one time and was like, hey. Yeah.
He just knew. He felt it. It was the butterflies.
The butterflies. Okay.
It's the butterflies in the heart. It was that feeling. You can't explain it, Ash. It's the feeling.
Yeah. That's a smart way to, write it. Make it in a way that, you can't explain, really.
Yeah, can't explain.
But yeah. I mean, it's a wild revelation. That, like, they would decide to just experiment on a human with Santa, I guess, and like push and prod him in different directions, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, obviously that takes up a fair portion of the episode, and then we get obviously all the Bernard stuff. Nice to see Bernard back. Obviously, he's grown. They explain why he's grown old because he gave up his elven powers.
His magic powers. Yeah, he's grown old now.
Who is he in a relationship with? I can't remember.
Some actress.
It was some old actress.
Some 80-year-old actress. And
obviously,
it was just a funny joke where he's like, "Yeah, there's a bit of an age difference, but we can still find stuff to talk about."
Love is love is love, Ilmar.
Yeah, I like his thing too at the start where he's just like, "I'm getting old now. I got this thing. I don't know how to get rid of it."
Yeah, so that's fun, and obviously, he's freezing them constantly.
Yeah,
that's a fun bit. Yeah. And then, all it turns out that they needed to tell Scott and the family is that elves are disappearing and they would have gone back straight to the North Pole. So really, this was a giant waste of time.
Yep. Yeah. I guess the other major thing. How all the kids use their powers.
Yeah. They use their powers. They actually see it,
The only thing is just that animals, apparently all animals need to know to fly is...
They just have to be told that they can.
Just have to be told that they can and believe. Yeah.
I mean that's what we learned from the reindeer in the second episode. So I mean,
it's true.
It's true.
But it's a story about life. It's a story about life. You can do anything
if you believe hard enough.
If you believe hard enough, you can achieve your dreams.
I would still, err on the side of physics. I wouldn't be jumping off any roofs, but even if you believe really hard that you can fly, that is not a message we condone here at this version.
No.
But yeah, that was really enjoyable. Obviously, Buddy having to explain to his girlfriend that he has to go back to the North Pole because his dad's Santa Claus. Also, her buying like the daughter's dress or shirt like on the spot and it being delivered straight away. Thanks, drones.
That was so weird. And the weirdest part is that, like, I see that technology and go, that's sort of too much. Like, I'm like, if that was a real technology, I feel like we should have that. if we like, I know you get overnight
it's like
Amazon and stuff like that, but
or whatever, like in Star Trek,
Yeah, I'm like, that's a technology we shouldn't have. That's too much.
Yep. Yeah. So that's super enjoyable. Obviously, Scott and Noel go back to the North Pole by themselves using the scary Christmas crystal thing. Betty is walking the halls all by herself looking for people. He comes across Simon's daughter who's playing the harp like ridiculously well. Like, I don't think I've ever seen like a young child play the harp before. That's like a old person's instrument or like a adult instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good point. Yeah.
That was pretty. And I mean, they're talking about there's some sort of one part of some sort of Christmas magic still here on the North Pole. It's clearly his daughter. Because he's still the only one who believes in the true power of Christmas. But yeah.
How sad was it when she just disappears though, right as what's his face comes around the corner?
Right as Noel comes around looking for Betty.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. Yeah. She really didn't want to go. Yeah. So old Scott goes to the one person who's definitely not leaving the North Pole, the old cranky security dude.
I enjoy this bit.
You know,
It's a good bit.
he wants to finish Coco first.
He's got his cocoa on. He's got his tinfoil hat on. It's a good bit.
It is a good bit. But yeah,
if everyone had worn one of these, like I told them, they wouldn't be disappearing. It's just.
But yeah, they quickly fall for a Santa trap because Scott can't help himself and he touches the tinsel on the Christmas tree. He gets wrapped up and they get thrown in the brig. Yeah, they're kind of stuck there.
And then he hands over the orb.
Yeah, hands down over the orb.
Yeah, but my favorite, I actually laughed out loud. It's such a dumb joke, but it worked. I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like my old man humor comes or whatever. Just the part of the end where like turns over, he's like, "So what are you in for?" I was like, I was like, such a dumb joke.
Stupid. But yeah, meanwhile, of course, Carol and the kids are flying to the North Pole on a horse and carriage that the daughter suddenly believe she can flying through a portal that only Buddy Cal can see.
So you're going to be right about the series because now it's like it's going to be Buddy takes it, like the whole Buddy taking over, and that's exactly what's happening. So,
I mean, it's pretty clear. He told his
I
girlfriend.
Missed the signs. I
told his girlfriend exactly what her brother wanted for Christmas.
I just didn't think they'd make the series about how a non-white
about nepotism
ruins Christmas, and then they have to bring
how minority ruined Christmas, and then
you see any Santa Clauses there that weren't white? Not me.
Yeah,
first one that's not white.
Santa Claus is a white man's game.
Yeah. Apparently.
Any other thoughts of this episode?
No, I mean it was a very it was a very brisk, sort of centralized episode because we had the major thing happening with Scott, obviously, so it wasn't like too much jumping around or stuff to talk about. But I did find it a lot of fun, and as much as I agree that it's wild and completely unnecessary to add all this lore and stuff to it, I thought it was fun. Like it's not a franchise.
It's a long stretch to explain why Santa Claus fell off a roof.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no reason for this show to exist. There's no reason. You know what I mean? Like it's a silly franchise. They're just adding.
She's the first Mrs. Claus. Then why is there already a myth around Mrs. Claus? Do you know what I mean? Why are they set in certain... why is there a mythology around the Mrs. Claus? Or were there Mrs. Clauses and they all just disappeared? Or they retired, I guess, at the same time?
Maybe.
They're in the another Yule-Verse. I do love the running bit of them all wanting to call it something other than Yule-Verse.
And also that dude comes out at that whatever Santa Claus is like the Yule-Verse, and you can I don't know, depending on what you was watching it with or whatever. I guess maybe it's very quiet. You can hear in the background, like with the audio mix, like a Santa Claus in the background just mix like, damn it, now he's got me saying it or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what you thought of the latest episode of The Santa Clauses by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at Very Explosion Network Christmas, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Give us 5 stars, and we can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this, thought it was worth it all, head over to our Cove page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. We're excited to be here next week, talk about the finale. But until next time, remember, think about trains. Doesn't matter where they go, and what matters is deciding to get on.